What's up, listeners? My name is Eyzaguirre. You may remember me from such podcasts as Oscar Sunday, Beyond the Bad, The Sneak Preview, Fake True Stories, and of course the Filmgazm podcast. This is interesting. This is a sudden project that came upon me. Decided to turn it into kind of a solo podcast that kind of just comes out whenever I feel like it. Short bursts of entertaining episodes, me just kind of covering films I've never seen and recording my first thoughts for you guys to hear. So I'm calling this whole thing 10,000 Flicks because I've been building a watch list on Letterboxd for the past few months that has gotten wildly out of proportion. So let me go back to the beginning here. So this started from me making a Letterboxd list out of all the films that I owned that I had not seen or seen in a while. I own quite a lot of films. If you know me at all, that is not a surprise. But I wanted to start watching them, but I always spend so much time just trying to decide what to watch. By the time I've decided on something, I've wasted 2 hours, and now I don't have time or energy to actually watch what I wanted to watch. So I figured, why not let fate decide? I turned all of the films I hadn't seen yet that were in my collection into a watch list. I numbered that watch list. I went to a random number generator on Google. I put the parameters in. I pressed click, whatever number that movie was assigned to. I watched that movie. Foolproof. Saw some cool shit. But then I started thinking, well, why am I just limiting this to stuff that I own? You know, my family has a expansive collection. My friends, Netflix, Max, they're calling it that, all of these streaming services. So why not expand, go and look what they've got to see, what they've got, and expand this thing, build it, make it, include everything that I would like to watch, because there's quite a lot of films out there that I have not seen. To date, I've seen about 2,700 films in my lifetime. Thank you, Letterboxd, for cataloging all that. And after I included every film I'd like to watch, I then started thinking, well, why am I stopping there? Why should I close myself off from stuff that I don't want to watch? I mean, how do I know I don't want to watch it? How do I know I don't like it if I don't give it a chance? Rom-coms, shitty movies, the worst of all time, the Twilight franchise, whatever I've shut myself off from the past. And not just that, but also films that are wildly acclaimed that I just didn't want to bother with because they're, Russian or 5 hours long, sometimes both. So I continued building the list. I included everything I could think of. Every film nominated for an Oscar, every film that my Filmgazm team reviewed on our website, every film that's in the Criterion collection, every film that what else? The worst of all time lists, the Razzie winners and nominees, every film that I owned, of course, that my family owns. It's pretty endless. I've included everything: the Land Before Time sequels, all the Tyler Perry movies, all the Pokemon movies, despite the fact that I know dick about Pokemon. Those will be fun to review, I'm sure, for Pokemon fans out there. And now the film list is 9,218 films strong. I have no fucking clue what I'm going to end up watching. It's entirely random. My only stipulation is I don't want to have to rent it, because $5 is not a lot to one movie. But even to, let's say, 1,000 films, that's going to bankrupt me pretty damn fast. So I figure every film will be available for free on some service at some point in the future, or I'll find it on DVD, or one of my friends has it, or whatever the hell. There's no hurry. So I decided, we're almost at 10,000 movies there, 10,000 flicks for a lifetime. Anything goes. reviewing and discussing any film that should happen to pop into my lap. And here I am. I was not going to wish this insanely huge burden on any of my podcast team. So I figured, you know what? It's been almost 5 years since I've done this by myself, since I sat in my office with a microphone, a laptop, and a shaky, nervous voice to discuss movies. I don't have a script. That might be evident at this point. I'm just kind of throwing my thoughts out there, and we'll get to the film at hand in a second here. But I do just want to say that this project was widely inspired by the optimism and the simply just like fierce determination to watch as much as possible that my good friend Austin Johnson has. So I saw him just watching whatever the hell he stumbled onto, rom-coms, horror movies, hardcore dramas, French movies, and he approached all of them with a smile on his face and hope in his heart. So I'm going to try to emulate that optimism with this show. It's not always going to work. There's going to be some duds. God knows there's going to be a lot of duds. But there's also going to be some hidden gems, some cool shit that I'm going to uncover with this project. Because film is my life. I am a genuine film historian now. I have the degree to prove it. Let's use it for a podcast, because that's what I like to do. That's what I know how to do. I'm confident enough in my own abilities to just kind of sit here and ramble for as long as I can. I'm trying to get these between 10 and 20 minutes. I'm not always going to hit that. I might go past it sometime. I highly fucking doubt it. It's easier to do these with two people when you can just shut the fuck up and let the other guy take the baton for a while. But you know what? That's not why we're here. We are here to discuss the first film on my giant-ass list for this, number 5,907, Pay the Ghost, starring Nicolas Cage in his wildly divisive paycheck era. And you know what? It's not that bad. It's bad, but it's not horrible. I mean, depending on... All right. It's Nicolas Cage. He's a genre all himself. I've loved this dude forever. I just finished rewatching the National Treasure movies, just for kicks. Love those. I've always loved those. Those films instilled upon me a great love of history at a young age that has stayed with me my entire life, despite the fact that now that I watch them, they're like, this is kind of bullshit. But you know what? They're still fun. They're still fun. And Cage is a big part of that, because he commits to every single role he's ever done, even the shit. So I figured I'd start here, just read my review on Letterboxd, let you know my initial thoughts on this movie. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. If you don't have Letterboxd, check it out. It's the best. And here we go. Digging into Nicolas Cage's divisive decade of low-budget or low-quality films known amongst fans as the paycheck era has been more entertaining than I expected. Having exhausted most of his critically acclaimed work, if I want to keep eating at this buffet, I'm going to have to lower my standards at least a bit. Everything I've seen so far has had a pretty consistent quality. The movie often sucks, but Cage is often trying his hardest. I don't think the man knows how to phone it in. I honestly don't. The guy commits. Even to the shittiest of scripts, the guy pulls it out every time. Few actors care about the craft as much as he does. He'll put the same level of effort into a film like Pay the Ghost that he would for Leaving Las Vegas. And that's the chief reason why this lukewarm ghost thriller kind of works. Here's a brief overview of the plot. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes just rattling off the plot like I used to back in the day. That's not fun for anybody. Just go watch the movie. Why would you come here to learn the plot like adjacent? Just go watch the movie. So Cage plays Mike Lawford, a recently tenured literature professor whose son goes missing while at a Halloween carnival. Mike's wife, Kristen, played by Sarah Wayne Callies. You may remember her as Laurie Grimes from The Walking Dead. She blames him, and they grow apart, while Mike continues searching for his son for about a year. He finally gets a lead when he hears the phrase, "Can we pay the ghost?" said by someone else, and that was the last phrase his son Charlie said to him before he vanished. Slowly, the film starts to morph from a missing kid thriller to a ghost horror movie, as the culprit is revealed to be an ancient ghost who steals children to replace her own that were taken from her. Pay the Ghost certainly isn't perfect. It's not remotely scary and doesn't stand out even among Nick Cage's unique filmography. But there's something sincere about it that I can't put my finger on. It keeps this from being a total disaster. And like I said, 3 out of 5 stars, so that ain't bad. I mean, it's a neat idea. I remember seeing the trailer back in the day, back when Nicolas Cage's movies got trailers. Thankfully, we're back in a good place now with Pig and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and Renfield. Like he's getting to be a little choosy again. But back in 2015, no, it was sink or swim. And Pay the Ghost had this creepy trailer, creepy vibe, cool idea of like where is his son? It's kind of like Gone Baby Gone meets Crimson Peak or whatever. And now that I've seen it, it could have been better. The third act is wildly all over the place. When you find out, how this all goes down. There's some witch who was a Celtic worshiper who was killed, and she swore revenge. Said, I'm going to take your kids because you took my kids. So every year on Halloween, she steals 3 kids. And obviously the cops aren't going to uncover this because usually, witchcraft is not number 1 on their suspect list. Cage uncovers it and ends up in like the netherworld where he meets, he finds his kid and these 2 other kids who got kidnapped around the same time because you can only bring back the ones who were taken last year. Like there's like a year expiration date on this ghost return thing. And there's a scene at the end where Cage is confronting this witch, and all the souls of the kids that she killed like fly at her in like a soul tornado and destroy her. And I was like, that's fucking cool. I wish it was in a better movie because that's a neat scene and a neat idea. But hey, So, Pay the Ghost. Currently streaming on Tubi. I watched it on DVD because I own this movie. Let's backtrack. So, I go to a lot of flea markets, Goodwill, half-price books, any place I can get movies under $10. And I don't really care what the movies are in terms of like, reviews, or if I'm intrigued and it's cheap, I'm going to pick it up. I've exhausted all of my shelf space with this crazy idea. I stumbled onto Pay the Ghost at Trade Days in Fredericksburg, which they have, I think, the first couple Saturdays of every month. And there was this old lady selling DVDs, and she had 4 Nicolas Cage movies. There was Pay the Ghost, USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage, The Humanity Bureau, and The Trust. And they were like $2 a pop. So I was like, I will take these. And I guess it was her last day there because she told me like, oh, I'm glad someone's going to get use out of these. And then she gave me too much change. And I tried to give her the change back. And she was like, you noble young man, you keep that. I remember it being a very wholesome encounter. And I walked away with 4 horrifically reviewed Nicolas Cage movies. One of which I had seen. I have seen USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage. And it's not that bad. It's a pretty harrowing story that admittedly deserved a little bit more care and attention in its interpretation. The story of the USS Indianapolis is not just Quint waxing poetically in Jaws. It actually happened. A lot of people died. A lot of people were scarred for life if they made it out of there alive. And a Nicolas Cage movie with horribly CGI'd sharks might not have been the best way to honor those men. But hey, it's what we got. And as for The Trust and the Humanity Bureau, they're in that list. Have not watched them yet. I'm only doing this for films that are in the list, which means I have either never seen them or haven't seen them in a very long time to the point where I do not remember most of it. So it'll be a fairly new experience. Yeah. So, Pay the Ghost. I know this probably isn't the most well-structured bonus podcast or whatever. It's not going to be. This is effectively a journal of my film journey going forward. I'm going to be referencing some personal stuff if it comes up. I'm going to be, shitting on some movies. I'm going to try my hardest to avoid any reviews beforehand, anything that's going to taint my opinion of the film itself. I'm modeling this after a class I took in my sophomore year of college. It was a critical theory class using the Beatles as a source, taught by Dr. Katie Kaperch. Shout out. Thank you, Teach. You were awesome. The goal was to use the Beatles songs as texts, like as text themselves. What do these songs mean? We couldn't look at Rolling Stones interpretation. We couldn't look at like what did John Lennon say this meant. We had the song lyrics and we had the music. And we had to figure out what this song meant using only those tools. With that, Helter Skelter is weird. And I Am the Walrus is basically impossible. But that's how I'm going to be interpreting these films going forward. The film itself is all I've got. I'm not going to look at the director's filmography. I'm not going to look at the actor's filmography unless I know it already and I can kind of chat about it. You know, The Rock, Con Air, Face Off. We love Nick Cage here. But that's it. No outside sources. No reviews, no Rotten Tomatoes, no IMDb, no Letterboxd except for my own review because I want this to be pure. You know, I want to judge these films by the film's merits. No, nothing else. Going back to kind of the core tenets of Filmgazm back when we first started at Caleb and I as a website. Fun fact, we were almost Lords of Entertainment. That was the first name we went with. I don't know where the hell Filmgazm came from. I thought of it in my sleep or something, but I was like, thank God, that's a much better name. And it was my aunt's idea to put the Z in there because Filmgazm with an S sounds like we're making porn, and not yet. We haven't quite gotten that desperate. It's funny. It took me about a half hour to start this because I was having some microphone issues. It might not sound as clear. It might sound kind of echoey, but I knew what it was. I've done over 600, 700 of these with my buddies for 4 years. It's old hat, but today I was nervous. For the first time in a long time, I was nervous. Because it's just me now. It's just me over here. Not permanently, like I'm still doing the show with everybody else. But for these, it's just me with a microphone on a laptop like it was in the old days. The very dull, boring, sad days because no one wanted to play with me. But now I've got a team, and I'm very grateful for that. But I'm also grateful for the fact that doing these solo ones, I don't have to wear pants anymore. That's a bonus. And yes, I am not wearing pants right now, so take comfort in that. I think I've talked enough today. Pay the Ghost. Check it out if you want. It's on Tubi. It's not that great. Most of these films aren't going to be great. There's maybe 40% of the entire output of films from 1890 to this year. Maybe 40% of them are good. The rest of them are conveyor belt manufactured bullshit. But sometimes in the bullshit, you can find a little nugget of gold. It's rare, but it does happen, and that's what this is all about. I'm panning for gold in a giant, giant mountain of shit. Well, potential shit. Going forward, yeah, pretty much whatever I pick and don't have to pay for, I'm going to talk about on this show. The release schedule is going to be wonky as hell. Could be 2 a day, could be 3 a week, could be none if I get caught up with some other shit. I don't know. And we'll still have weekly duo content coming out. Austin and Adam and I are doing that top 10 of the 2010s countdown. That's been so much fun. Such a cool idea. And then, of course, whatever else the team wants to do for another episode, if that comes up. And then the First Thoughts thing, covering the current film calendar. Necessary. Kind of, not great all the time. The idea well ran dry about 30 years ago, and now we're just squeezing that rotten, dried up teat for all it's worth. But occasionally you get a Blackberry or a You Hurt My Feelings, but most of the time it's a Fast X. I'm sure we'll do one on Spider-Man or the Boogeyman or whatever other man has something coming out soon. Movies are my life. Talking about them is something I have done for a very long time, regardless of success or spotlight or money. This is a hobby I enjoy. I'd be doing this with or without a microphone, so I might as well get my thoughts out there for other people to hear, debate me, challenge me, agree with me, whatever you want. If you want to do that, go to Filmgazm Productions on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, and let me have it. Also, email filmgazm@gmail.com. Check that out too. You can, if you want me to wax poetically about something that you care about, send it to me, and I will do it. I will watch anything. I'm not going to review porn yet. Well, maybe if I run out of legit films, I don't know, we'll do Backdoor Patrol 5 or whatever the fuck. But right now, got a lot of movies to pick from. I've got a good lifetime's worth of films to watch, and I'm adding more every single day. I'll take recommendations. I will. Anything goes. This is going to be fun. Thanks for listening. And I believe next up is. I'm going to hold to this. I believe number 6,504, Private Benjamin, a 1980 comedy starring Goldie Hawn and Eileen Brennan, streaming on Max. So I'll be watching that shortly. Looking forward to it. Take it easy.